Winter has been hard for my little 34-year-old Camry. It seems that we may have hit the hard limit of how long rubber seals will last. So we did the valve cover seal last time. There's still a leak, and it seems to be under the timing cover. So we're going to do a little bit of work. I bought all brand new seals, and while we're at it, we're changing the timing belt, the water pump, and the tensioners. So I guess we'll get started. I'll give you a quick breakdown of the easy stuff we're going to do first. So obviously I got my car up on the jacks. I've got stops on the back wheels. We're going to disconnect the battery. We're going to move this throttle control out of the way. So there's 3 10mm bolts down there. And then we're going to unplug your wires here. So you're going to move that over to here where the engine's cooled off. We're going to undo these 2 bolts. Now my pump here, or pump reservoir, is not normal. So yours will probably look different, but it's still going to be the 2 bolts over here. Going to remove that. Ground cable you're going to remove. I'm going to disconnect and remove the alternator so we can remove the belt. And then we can start working on stuff down here. Now there is 2 bolts that I have already disconnected here. And somewhere down there, it's not going to focus. Just so I can move the reservoir out of the way. And then we'll get to the engine mount. Now, I'm also not going to show taking off my wheel because I'm going to jack up the car to access the panel down there. So now we're going to move on to the engine mounts. And the first thing we got to do is start from the bottom. Since we're removing the engine mounts, we need to support the engine, which, I mean, if you have it, you can use an engine hoist, but the instruction manual, all of them that I've read, tell you to just lower the tension onto the oil pan on a block of wood. So I've got my wheel cradle, and I'm just going to put a piece of wood under here, jack it up so the wood fits, and then set it back down so everything's nice and, you know, safe. So this is what it looks like after I've actually lowered it on this. And you can still move the block. It's just the engine's supported. And it'll lower a little bit further on my spot where I have my jack stands on both sides here. So we should be as safe as we need. And then when I remove the bolts up top and the 2 bolts that are going to be right up underneath of there, that engine won't break or fall or do anything we don't want it to. So to remove it up top, you have the 3 bracket bolts on here for the, I don't even know what you call that, where the alternator hooks in. So 14, 14, 14, and on a 14mm right there. Then you have 17, 17, and 17 in the back there. So it's a little hard to see, and I misspoke when I tried to record this the first time. I've got them removed now, which as soon as I got the second one off, it actually lowered the pan a little bit more. But they're actually 14mm. I thought they were 17, but not quite. So now that we got all the bolts disconnected, that thing should just pull straight up. And generally when I'm doing this, both pieces are easier to take out than one at a time. So it's kind of wedged in a weird spot back there. And then once I actually get it up, I'll put all the bolts in the original holes as much as I can. That way I don't lose anything. Now with the assembly removed, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So it kind of slots within this section. So the only way to actually take these apart, alternatively, is to actually jack the engine up to slide it off, like I did before in one of my engine mount videos. I wish I knew that before. That would have helped a lot. But yeah, all the bolts as together as I can. I guess technically you didn't have to take that top bolt off of the rubber. Now we're to the section that had me stuck last week. It is highly recommended to use an air impact wrench on this. I did not own one up until last week when I tried to do this last week. This bolt is like rusted on, right? I spent like 20 minutes with a propane torch trying to heat that up to pull that off. I was cooling it down with PB Blaster, trying to get it to soak within the back of the bolt, and I was just not having any fun. I even tried the method with a breaker bar where you put a screwdriver and kind of wedge it up against a pry bar to get it. but I think I messed up the rubber here. I mean, again, 34 years old, this is getting replaced too while I'm at it, because I went ahead and bought it because I was scared this thing was going to fall apart after I worked on this. But granted, this would not have been a hard part after the fact to replace, because it just pulls off. You don't have to do anything behind it. Heck, you don't even have to fix the timing afterwards because it's on a pin. So yeah, it should take me a second to pull that off now. But I almost got ahead of myself. We want to kind of preset the alignment first, so we're going to have to take off the top cover. I mean, very technically, you don't even have to take this cover off to do what I'm about to do, because there's a little spot there that pops out and you can kind of see the pin from there. But we're going to take all the 10mm bolts off the first top cover, and you need to make sure that you know where you took them off from, because they are all kind of different. So I'd set this up last week. You can see I already took 2 off and I never put them back on. But yeah, I'm kind of making a little diagram to kind of figure out where I put them. Now with those out, you can kind of see the different sizes. So this was kind of a weird way to take off. I'm trying to remember how I did it last time. I think I had to kind of just scoop it up this way. But yeah, you just have to finagle with it until you take it out. But just try to not to scrape it up too much. So now that I got the cover off, we can see our main, what do you call that? Camshaft sprocket, whatever. It's right there, all right? There is a tiny little hole next to these big old sprockles. Yeah, you can kind of see it towards the left there. So we want to get that aligned with a little tiny divot that's back behind there that you can really only see with one of these like little mirror things. So luckily, I mean, my engine is in time. I did give myself a little bit of a cheat work, so that's not exactly accurate though, funny enough. So every 2 rotations of that sprocket, that one rotates once, I think, unless I'm thinking of it backwards. Wait a second. Yeah, one rotation for that equals 2 different rotations for this. So at the bottom here, there's going to be a little divot, and our divot needs to be at that 0 mark down there. So that's why I didn't pull that off yet, because it's just easier to do it this way. It is also very, very important that you only rotate this clockwise. That's why I was having so much trouble taking this bolt off, because you're not supposed to have this move in reverse. Now this is a non-interference engine, so I don't know if it'll actually hurt it, but it's not a good thing to do. So now I have it set just about right. That's pretty much close to 0. It will move a little bit when I take that bolt off. And then I don't know if I'll be able to get it lined up here, but yeah, I probably won't let you be able to see it, but right there in that little tiny hole is a line that shows that we're lined up. So we should be good to take this off now. So a little ironic, even though I loosened this bolt last week, I still can't get it off. So a little bit of air tool action here. I won't be able to film it, obviously, but again, you don't want that to rotate while you're going in reverse. So what you do is you take a screwdriver or something pointy, stick it down one of them holes, hold it in place, and then do what you need to do. So there we go, hardly moved, and big old bolts removed. So I'll set that in a safe place where it's not going to get dirty. So now we're at the second spot that got me stuck last week. So we have a 14mm bolt right there and a 14mm bolt right there. They're really obnoxious. They're for the, you know, the power steering pump. So you can see I am long past due for a belt, because I have I've never really wanted to deal with this. But it looks like I'm going to use a ratcheting wrench here. It looks like if I take that bolt completely off, I should be able to loosen that, because there's really not much space to work with the drive shaft here. Okay, so I was a little wrong. I couldn't get that bolt out completely, but it did help, because the ratcheting wrench just barely fit, and it was just in there enough to break that bolt loose. So now I should be able to kind of push that over and get that belt out. So I lied, there was one more. I don't even know if I can get a picture of this. Right down there, you can kind of see it, the bottom corner left, if it would ever focus. See if I can get my camera down there. Yeah, that one next to the banjo bolt there. I had to break out a crow's foot socket to kind of get myself in there, because that's really a pain. But now that I'm here, you can kind of see some of the evidence. So I could have skipped like the timing belt and everything, because it seems like it's going to be this seal, which ironic. I might end up having to take this valve cover back off depending on how it goes. But I want to say that's loose. I'll have to look it up. That seems a little floppy. So I'm kind of defeated on that. The tensioner definitely is loose now, but I still can't seem to pull it off. So I'm going to go ahead and get working on this guy here. So I do have a puller, a specific puller for these. So I'm going to go grab it real quick. It's getting a little dark, so this is going to be the last thing I do tonight. But so this is the setup. We have two 8mm by 1.25 thread, and it just kind of pushes in the center. It pushes right out. It's the easiest way to do it in this kit. AutoZone was like $23, so it's definitely worth it. It's the next morning. Got the cover off. Also continued with my little diagram. It's a little cold yet, so I'm probably not going to start right away, but in preparation, because I'm taking the water pump out, I've started to remove all the liquid from the radiator. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to show you easily enough. There's a tiny little valve down there. You just kind of crack that open. It's not going to drain a lot if you don't crack the radiator. So that'll take a while, and I'm going to try to reuse the fluid because I don't want to spend any more money. So now we're getting into the timing belt itself. So I have a lot of work to do. I already cracked loose the 14mm bolt on the tensioner and on the pulley down here. So we're going to actually loosen that up and go ahead and pull the belt off. Makes it really easy to take the belt off when you have the tensioners off. Now the tensioner itself, it actually rests on this little pin, so you have to kind of wiggle it out, especially if you got something super greasy like mine. Now to crack the bolt back there, I put the belt back in, and I had it loop on itself. And now the only downside is it did rotate it a tiny bit counterclockwise, but should be fine. Luckily, once you get that bolt off, it just slides out, and it is really telling that it was leaking there for sure. You can see it even still has some fresh oil in it from yesterday. So we're gonna just wash these up. Got some degreaser on the engine now, so we'll just wait a couple minutes for that to activate. I went ahead and did the same thing that I usually do with the with the plate there, with the water pump. So all the bolts removed. Most of them are 10mm, with exception to the one bolt that's attached that holds the alternator bracket. You should just pull out, and you'll end up with a lot of water through there. Oh, you know, that leaks out a lot more than I thought it would. Good thing I put that bucket under there. Unfortunately, that I won't be able to save any of. But you know what? This looks a lot better than I expected it to be. Definitely has a little bit of pitting here or there. But yeah, I had some radiator stop leak in there ages ago. I thought it'd be all like jammed up in there. Cool. Now you want to make absolutely certain that you remove the entirety of that old gasket. Now you want to take your time with this and gingerly just slowly work it off, because You don't want to be sitting here scraping it for ages. So I feel kind of dumb. I missed a couple bolts. So right back here, there's this set of tubes, and there's 2 bolts. It's kind of annoying to get to. I ended up just using a regular wrench and some time. And I think we're going to go ahead and take this off real quick too, just to make it easy to pull out and clean. While waiting on it to dry, I did clean up that spot, and there's a little O-ring that goes right there. Now that it's mostly cleaned up, so I've got that O-ring in place. Now I've put some of that, well, whatever I used down there for the oil pump, it holds it in place enough, so we're good on that. So I'm going to put those 2 bolts in first, and then I'm going to try to do everything else. But this needs to slide in place to that other O-ring that I already put on. So I got it on. I know the bolts were supposed to be like somewhere around like 82 or 76, or I don't care anymore. Since my torque wrench doesn't work, I'm kind of in the dark about that, and it really sucks. But I'm going to fill this thing up with coolant. Now that we're at the oil pump, I've once again removed the bolts and set them on the cardboard. Now this should, I believe, just wiggle out. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you don't let the spindle drop. So technically, that gasket still looks decent. It's got a little bit of wear to it, but so far so good. I'll get that cleaned up. And yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Got most of the oil cleaned up of it now. I just took my impact. I think this was a 12mm bolt. I just held the gear. Impact came right off. So we have to take that off to get to that seal. And I'm just going to take a pick. And we want to make sure you don't scrape any of the metal on either side here. And just kind of pull that out. And then I'll use a socket that will fit on there just to kind of press it back in. Now that I have it out, you can kind of see this part slides in and out easier now. Mine is starting to wear out, I think, but it'll be fine for now. That gasket definitely needed to be replaced. But there's a couple spots you want to keep in mind of. Got this little spot here and the little hole up top here that goes all the way through into the chamber there. If it'll focus, there we go. And you want to make sure they're cleared out because they oil this thing. So now we can put it all back together. So I got my new seal in place. I haven't torqued this down yet. I've got the O-ring in place. That was a pain to get in there, to be honest. If it wasn't for this oil seal pre-assembly lubricant, that would not be holding in place. And I kind of ran my finger around it a couple times to make sure that it's seated like as center as possible. So now we just have to get this into there, and you want to basically rotate this thing a little bit as you're pushing it in. Oh, and I did put some oil on that shaft before I put it in. So yeah, you want to kind of get that lined up with that, and then start putting the bolts back on. Bolts are on, but not torqued yet. So instruction manual says this bolt here, 20 foot-pounds. All the 10mm bolts, 82 inch-pounds. So I'll do that real quick. Well, that could have been really bad. I started torquing them down and one of them just decided to snap for whatever reason. It wasn't even close to the torque specs. So I got it on. I am a little worried. I have a suspicion that my torque wrench, the inch-pound one, is not accurate anymore. So I guess I'm not using that. So I got it as tight as I could kind of judge it, but everything seems good so far, but anxiety high. I'm gonna take this seal out real quick. Just gonna kind of get a screwdriver in there and pop it out. I think the instructions actually tell you to cut around that seal to pop it out, but either way, as long as you get it out without scraping it up. Hey, this is Daniel. A week from the future of the video that you're currently watching, I wanted to go over the torque wrenches. The torque wrench was definitely bad. I bought a digital torque meter to show you how bad it was. First thing, the bolt that I used, it's an M6 one pattern thread bolt. Now the one that snapped was a 16 millimeter. There's two 16 millimeter bolts there, and the one diagonal to the one that snapped was another 16 millimeter. If you look at a manual, it'll tell you which one's which. I used the wrong bolt in the video. Now obviously this is not the correct size. I actually trimmed it down to a 16 millimeter, but this is a class 10.9 bolt. What I put in was an 8.8. I swapped it out this week, so we're good to go. Now, hand tightening. I have this set to show me the top strength here. My hand tightening was probably close. So without looking, that's probably how much strength I put on it. Let me try it one more time. Yeah, somewhere around there. So hand tight, I was probably a little loose. Now both my 3/8 and my 1/4 inch I have set to 10 foot-pounds at the moment. Now this is an inch pound, so I set it to 120. So this is the one that snapped the bolt. And there you go. It went at 12 foot-pounds instead of 10. So I'm like 20% tighter than it should have been. Now for the 3/8, I tried to use the 3/8. It just felt really wonky. That didn't feel right at all. Hold on. Oh no, right here, right here. It's snapping right here. It's really not made to go this low. So it's actually going 4.8. But the snap is so mild at that low. So we're going to set it up to 30 foot-pounds. Ignore the beeps. Okay, at 30 foot-pounds, it's registering 16. So maybe not by the cheap torque wrenches from Harbor Freight, if this is also to be counted as accurate. So yeah, I didn't buy this digital torque meter until the week after I recorded the video that you were just watching. So I ended up having to spend a couple hours and take it all back apart, redo all the torque stuff, put it all back together, and then set the timing again, because when I loosened up the timing tensioner, it kind of jumped a tooth, and I had to. It was not fun. But ultimately, even though I will say in the video that I set it to 30 foot-pounds and it did work fine, I did go back and set it to 15 foot-pounds just to be safe as far as what the manual says. Now, I will admit, having the tensioner tighter and the belt tighter than what I did in this video, it did make it feel smoother, but you've got to watch. The tighter you make the belt, the more work that your bearings have to do, and the more likely you are to ruin your bearings. So, as far as doing the belts, if you can turn them to their side and not flip them over all the way, that's how tight you really want to keep them. It's kind of a rule of thumb. So some belts, thicker belts, you might not be able to. Some smaller belts, you'll definitely be able to, but it's just something that working on vehicles, you just have to kind of get a feel for. But I can say that was probably the easiest part of the project. That kind of, after doing that and messing that bolt up, that was nice. So we're going to do the exact same thing that I just did with this seal here. Should just pop out with a screwdriver and then pull out. So this one took me an awfully long time to figure out because I can't put a socket in it and hit it with a hammer. So what I ended up doing was I took extension kind of held in the back here and kind of wedged it on each section until I could get that far enough in. I'm pretty sure that's good now. We're almost back together now. So if I read correctly, that's going to be 40 foot-pound of torque. And that pulley is somewhere between 13 and 15 for the tensioner. So I'm not exactly sure what that bottom pulley was. I'll have to find that. We're going to go ahead and set the timing again, just make sure it's correct. So we're going to go grab the bottom plate and the mirror. Hello, it's me from a week from now again. So after doing this and putting the pulley back on last week, and this week redoing the timing because I loosened up the tensioner and it messed up and had to reset the time again, I found out I overlooked a very easy way to set the crankshaft timing. Now, I didn't take a picture, but I can show you in the manual. Now, I've got you zoomed in on the manual, but it's still a little hard to see. There is a little divot on the casing right here. And that divot will line up with another little notch that is on this toothed gear here. So once those two are lined up, you will be at top dead center, and you wouldn't have to put the pulley on it. That would have saved me some time, but we'll get back to the video here. All right, so now we got the alignment correct. I don't know if I'll be able to show this on camera, but if you could see in that little hole, you'd see the dash. Down at the bottom here, I've got the new Harmonic Balancer that it's not pushed in all the way, but it's at the 0 mark. So we should be good on that. I should be able to start putting the belt on. I'm going to apologize. I've been at this all day and I'm getting a little tired, but I got the belt on. So I put the timing cover back on. Harmonic Balancer is in place down there. I made sure when I got the belt on that it was decently tight with that dash and that at the 0 mark down there. Now, I rotated it twice and it's still perfectly aligned, tick mark, 0 mark. And now what we had to do is I rotated 1 7/8 more times. So I don't really think I can see it. There's a line on the side of where that counter is. It's really hard to see, but the tick mark on the Harmonic Balancer is lined up with that. That is the point at which they want you to torque this down for this pulley. So, and from instructions that I've seen, 31 foot-pounds. I think we got it, boys. I think we're done. So I'm going to put some stuff together, put all the bolts back on the timing cover, and hope this works. So I got everything reassembled. The only thing I'm concerned with is when going through and double checking all the torque specs, there was a little bit of back and forth on the tensioner torque. So I know, like, the manual says between 13 and 15 pounds. Newer manuals for newer versions of this engine say like 30. I went with 31 because that's the video I found of somebody actually working on one. Now that might be too tight, and I might have to take a couple things apart to loosen that back up. But I did test it yesterday. Everything seems to be working fine. I am going to bleed off a little bit more air from the radiator real quick, but we're going to give it a test drive. Just got back from the test drive. Temperature's doing good. Oil pressure's good. Of course, I don't have a dial for that. But if I shut off the engine, let's see. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. But anyway, there you go. I'm not leaking oil anymore. It doesn't hesitate uphill anymore, which I think was a loose timing belt. And, you know, it's not bad for a 34-year-old, 250-mile or more, because I don't know what the previous owner did with it, because they used to drive to DC every day. So that might have racked up more miles than it actually says. Yeah, I've no more oil leak, and hopefully it lasts me a couple more years. I'm gonna keep like hammering on this thing until it eventually blows the engine. So I'll see you in the next video.